Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Arjun Chaudhary. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Tuesday, the 4th of November. Pakistan using militants as proxies against India and Afghanistan, says Pentagon. Indian cabinet approved dissolution of Delhi Assembly. And Shia Muslims observe day of mourning on Ashura across South Asia. And now for all the details. Pakistan is using its homegrown militant groups to target India and Afghanistan, a Pentagon report has said. It has also expressed concern over the presence of insurgents inside Pakistan who could destabilize Afghanistan post the withdrawal of the NATO combat troops.
Despite mounting international pressure, various terror outfits continue to enjoy safe havens in Pakistan, the Pentagon in its report informed the US Congress. The biannual report submitted to the US House of Representatives deals with the current situation in Afghanistan. Afghan and Indian-focused militants continued to operate from Pakistan territory to the detriment of Afghan and regional stability. Pakistan uses these proxy forces to hedge against the loss of influence in Afghanistan and to counter India's superior military, the report said. Both India and Afghanistan have been accusing Pakistan of sheltering militant groups responsible for terror attacks on their respective soils. New Delhi said the Pentagon report is a vindication of the stand the country had for many years.
For long, we have held that the issue of terrorism should not be segmented. And if the international community is now welcoming and acknowledging the fact that terrorism derives support from Pakistan, it is something that we welcome because this is our view for a long time.
India has long been accusing Pakistan of sheltering designated militants like Hafiz Saeed and Syed Salahuddin, who are wanted in India for a number of high-profile terror attacks. Defense analysts said the report attains significance in the light of the withdrawal of the NATO troops from Afghanistan.
Pakistani deep state, as it is called, which is located in Rawalpindi, where we have the Pakistani army and the ISI, and their linkages with Muridke, which is the headquarters of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, is something that India has been trying to sensitize global opinion to for a very long time, but with very limited success. For the United States, this situation has become relatively more urgent because of the US presence in Afpak and the fact that the same groups have been targeting American military assets.
Pakistan, which continues to be in a denial mode, has in the past tried to blame non-state actors behind the terror activities in its neighboring countries. Islamabad, which was one of the only few backers of the former Taliban regime, has always remained apprehensive about the continued NATO presence in Afghanistan and the increasing role of India in the country. New Delhi is one of the leading contributors in rebuilding Afghanistan after over a decade of conflicts.
India's federal cabinet on Monday recommended fresh elections in Delhi and dissolution of the provincial assembly. This comes after Delhi Lieutenant Governor wrote to President Pranab Mukherjee as major political parties declined to form government.
After nearly 9 months of being without an elected government, India's national capital is all set to hold fresh polls. A special meeting of the federal cabinet on Monday gave its nod to recommend elections in Delhi. After meeting all the major political parties in the past few days to discuss the possibility of government formation, Delhi Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung recommended to dissolve the assembly, a move favoured by all parties too. The cabinet will now send its proposal to President Pranab Mukherjee, who will take a final decision on the issue. All political parties welcome the decision. The federal ruling Bharatiya Janata Party or BJP said people will vote for a stable government this time.
बीजेपी इस फैसले से बिल्कुल खुश है और हम चुनाव में जाने के लिए तैयार हैं। पार्टी चुनाव में जाएगी और एक बहुत शानदार तरीके से दिल्ली में एक विजय प्राप्त करेगी और दिल्ली को एक अच्छी चुनी हुई पारदर्शी निर्भीक और ठहरने वाली सरकार हम देगी।
The Aam Aadmi Party or AAP expressed confidence that the people will vote for good governance.
अपील करेंगे कि इस बार पूर्ण बहुमत दें आम आदमी पार्टी को, ताकि जो बिजली हमने सस्ती की थी, जो पानी पीने का साफ पानी मुफ्त मिलने लगा था, स्कूल सुधरने लगे थे, रिश्वतखोरी पूरी तरह से बंद हो गई थी, बेईमानी बंद हो गई थी चारों तरफ, महंगाई रुक गई थी। ये सारी चीजें फिर से स्थायी रूप से की जा सकें, इसके लिए पूर्ण बहुमत दें।
The national capital has been under President's rule since February after AAP Supremo Arvind Kejriwal announced his dramatic resignation following the failure to table the Public Ombudsman Bill. The party, which was a surprise package in the assembly elections in December last year, ruled for just 49 days. It is, however, now banking on its populist measures during the brief stint to turn into vote. On the other hand, the BJP is no short of momentum, with impressive wins in Maharashtra and Haryana in the recently held provincial polls. New elections in Delhi will be held within 6 months of dissolving the existing assembly.
Bangladesh civil society and freedom fighters have welcomed the Supreme Court order upholding the death penalty to war crimes convict Mohammad Kamaruzzaman. Many said justice has been delivered to victims of 1971 genocide and violence.
Hundreds of Bangladeshi civil society activists took out marches across capital Dhaka on Monday, cheering the apex court's verdict. The court had earlier in the day rejected an appeal filed by Kamaruzzaman against the death penalty awarded to him by the International War Crimes Tribunal or ICT. Kamaruzzaman was one of the chief organizers of the Al-Badr, a pro-Pakistan armed group which was responsible for genocide, attack on minorities and killing of the intellectuals and activists during Bangladesh's independence struggle. Many welcomed the court's judgment.
The whole country is quite happy, and I am a part of that, because we saw that after 43 years of our independence, the nation could bring the war criminals under trial, which was the long-awaited desire of the country, the people, especially the country who lost 100,000 people and 200,000 women torture in 1971.
আন্তর্জাতিক যুদ্ধাপরাধী ট্রাইব্যুনাল থেকে একের পর এক রায় ঘোষিত হচ্ছে। আমরা মুক্তিযোদ্ধারা, ঢাকার গেরিলা যোদ্ধারা এই রায়কে সন্তুষ্ট। আমাদের প্রত্যাশিত রায় আমরা পেয়েছি। তবে জাতি কলঙ্কমুক্ত হবে অচিরেই যদি এদের ফাঁসির কাস্টে ঝুলিয়ে দ্রুত রায় কার্যকর হয়, তাহলে আমরা রণাঙ্গনে মুক্তিযোদ্ধা এবং সাথী যোদ্ধারা যারা শাহাদত বরণ করেছে, মুক্তিযুদ্ধে শহীদ হয়েছে, তাদের আত্মা শান্তি পাবে।
The ICT, which was formed in 2010 by the Awami League government, is a fulfillment of decades-long demand of Bangladeshi freedom fighters and activists. The ICT has so far tried nearly a dozen local collaborators of Pakistan Army who were responsible for large-scale violence during the Liberation War.
No more first-class travel and meetings at five-star hotels for Indian officials. Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently announced of cracking the whip to cut government spending as part of his austerity drive. A report.
Prime Minister Modi wants his government to curb lavish spending as he announces these tough austerity measures. He has ordered officials to forego the luxury of flying first class, avoid holding conferences at five-star hotels, and stop buying cars. He has advised officials to use video conferencing for meetings wherever possible and also barred the creation of any new posts in government. The Prime Minister wants to slash spending so that he can deliver on his election promise to reduce the fiscal deficit. To do so, he needs to trim the government's non-planned or discretionary expenditure by at least 10% by March next year. So far, the move has been welcomed by the party leaders.
Mr. Narendra Modi had said well before the election campaign itself that he is the watchman of the country's treasury. He had said that not a single penny would be wasted till he is the Prime Minister. In keeping with his own promise, in keeping with his own vision, the Prime Minister and the Central Cabinet has started an austerity drive. Everything is for the people of India. It would go to the poorest of poor. We welcome this step.
But some opposition leaders feel it is just a populist measure that is not effective in cutting down overall government spending. They feel the biggest challenge is to ensure the proper implementation of these measures.
It's not the announcement that government has done that we are going to run our austerity drive and we are going to cut down the non-planned expenditure. It always the intent behind those announcements that come across and people actually get to know about your intentions, what you're trying to do. So we'll see how it's going to be well accepted by their own MPs and MLAs.
While Mr. Modi's austerity drive is aimed at rationalizing its expenditure and optimizing the available resources, the government has so far not made clear how it is planning to implement these orders. Similar measures were made by the previous Congress-led government but were never followed through. Avneet Arora for South Asia Newsline in New Delhi.
The Afghan deputy governor, who was gunned down by the Taliban, was laid to rest amid state respects. Abdul Karim Patial's funeral services in southern Kandahar was attended by hundreds of locals and government officials on Monday. Patial, a celebrated writer, was gunned down by Taliban assailants while attending class at a university. The targeted attack was the latest in the string of Taliban-led deadly strikes on officials and influential people in the Kandahar province, a crucial base of the militant outfit. At least 5 others, including a judge, have already been killed by the insurgents in the recent past. The Taliban, which ruled Afghanistan till 2001 before being ousted by the US, have stepped up violence to capture the regions vacated by NATO troops as they withdraw by the year end. Shia Muslims across South Asia observed Ashura, the extreme sacrifice of Prophet Muhammad's grandson. While many took to parades, others practiced flagellation.
Shia Muslims in India mark the day taking out processions to pay homage to martyrdom of Imam Hussain, the grandson of Prophet Muhammad. Muslim devotees in central Bhopal thumped their chests to mark the mourning, one of the most important days in their calendar.
हुसैन की ये कुर्बानी किसी एक खास मजहब और दीन के लिए नहीं थी, बल्कि सच और हक को बचाने के लिए थी.
Shias in neighbouring Bangladesh marched through the streets of capital Dhaka for the religious ritual. The day is observed in the Muslim world as a symbol of sacrifice and mourning. Residents of Afghan capital Kabul began their day by praying at local mosques. Many followers also marked the day by mass self-flagellation and beating themselves with chains and steel-tipped plates.
امروز به خاطر آمدیم که امروز هفتم محرم است، به خاطر که برای تق زدن آمدیم، ولی تق که میزنیم درد احساس نمیکنیم، به خاطر که عشق صحیح است.
Thousands of police and paramilitary troops guarded the main Ashura processions in capital Islamabad to avoid any kind of violence. Mourners said the security this year was satisfactory.
इस साल माशाल्लाह बहुत अच्छा इंतजाम किया हुआ है और हर तरह की सेटिस्फेक्शन है. मैं खुद देखें आई एम अबाउट 77 years of age, लेकिन ये कि मेरे आने जाने में कोई तकलीफ नहीं हुई है. बड़े आराम के साथ हम इंटर हो गए हैं.
Ashura processions in Pakistan are usually most prone to sectarian clashes in Sunni majority Pakistan. More than 800 Shias have been killed in attacks in Pakistan since the beginning of 2012, according to the campaign group Human Rights Watch.
दुश्मनान इस्लाम, दुश्मनान पाकिस्तान की कोशिश है कि यहाँ पर फ़िरक़ावारियत को हवा दें और ऐसी फ़िज़ा बनाएं, मगर वो अपनी इन नापाक कोशिशों में अब तक नाकाम रहे हैं और इंशाअल्लाह ये आइंदा भी नाकाम रहेंगे.
Ashura marks the end of first 10 days of Muharram, the first holy month of Islamic calendar. Shia Muslims observe it by arranging processions and parading through the streets to commemorate the sacrifice of Prophet Muhammad's grandson.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude the top stories once again. Pakistan using militants as proxies against India and Afghanistan, says Pentagon. Indian cabinet approved dissolution of Delhi Assembly. And Shia Muslims observe day of mourning on Ashura across South Asia. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.